Hey everyone, so having given everything a quick wipe down and having had a little play about with the tripod, I do actually quite like it. So initially, also in the unboxing video, I had a little play about with this and I wasn't really entirely sure because everything just felt kind of loose and flopping about a little. But essentially what it's got is you've got two modes, so you've got A and B. So while it's on A, your legs will only extend so far. So essentially you end up with that sort of tripod, and obviously you can bring them in. There's a little bit of a resistance, so if you do bring the leg in a little, it will stay there. They also extend out. Whilst you're pulling out, obviously you don't need to push the button. If you just have a look at the way the little notches are, to push it back in, you do however need to. So let's extend it all the way out. So essentially that's how big potentially you could have it. And obviously one of the selling points is that you can just use it as a almost like a gimbal. Most of the phones nowadays have really good stabilization, especially the ultra wide on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So for that reason, obviously you wouldn't actually need to use a dedicated gimbal. It's almost stabilized to the point where it's good enough. But let's push these back in. So that was the first setting. Now what you do is you just unwind this a little, and what it does, it just rotates a little and it'll go on to B. Now the legs go out almost completely flat. So depending on what you're trying to make a video or photograph, you have got quite a lot of adjustment there. Essentially, I mean, you could probably just leave it on B all the time. The only downside of that is obviously these legs are completely independent, so you could literally have it so then two or even one of them is at a completely different angle. That's probably the one downside. The one thing I probably would have liked to have seen is to have it so then it will actually notch in, so then all your legs are set the same, just so then you've got an even picture. But obviously that's something that it's a very simple design. If you push them out all the way, that will be the same, so that will be level in theory, and you can photograph or video whatever you want without having to set up your picture again. The actual phone mount, I'm actually really impressed with. The grip on this is actually really good, and it does extend all the way over the 11 Pro Max. One of the issues that we have with smartphone mounts is the fact that you either have to go something really expensive in order to get something that will actually grip the phone properly, or you go the opposite end of what I've got at the moment, and that literally it's just a cheap mount. It holds it in place. I'm not doing anything extreme with the camera. It's on a tripod, so it's just going to stay where it is, so as long as it holds it. But obviously with this, it's just a lot easier to put in. The one that I've got, you have to almost locate it centrally, whereas with this, you can literally just grab the phone, put it in. So what I'll do is I've just grabbed my daughter's phone just to give a little demonstration in terms of how quickly you can actually. So it is literally as simple as that. You just push the top up and it'll locate. And the good thing about this is you can have it all the way off, and especially if it's got a grippy case on it, that isn't going anywhere. The spring is nice and strong. So that I'm quite impressed with. With both of these, I probably won't actually get around to using these. Generally, I only want it in that one particular orientation. This is more for different types of photography, and obviously this also gives you your portrait option as well, which I very much doubt I'll be using, but it's there. It's an additional option for you. The GoPro, I don't have a GoPro, so this isn't of any use to me, but obviously if somebody does have a GoPro, it can be quite useful for them. This just in terms of moving around the house and everything, if I was to make some videos or something like that, this would probably be a good option, just because, like I said, the smartphone stabilization these days is so good that unless you're using a telephoto on any of the higher end kind of flagship phones, generally the stabilization is going to be very good, especially when you get to the ultra wides, because the ultra wides are almost stabilized, even handheld, let alone if you've got a little bit of an extension. It softens up the actual movements of your arm slightly. So even having this, I do have a dedicated actual gimbal. It's quite an old one. I probably need to upgrade it just because of the fact that it isn't really designed for the 11 Pro Max when it's getting to that weight of phone. But that's something that I'll look into in the future. I don't really use it as much these days. These YouTube videos are probably the only time that I'm going to actually make use of the gimbal, as opposed to what I used to do. I did make quite a lot of use of it when I first got it, but I've not really been on any holidays right now. Obviously, nobody's going on holiday, so I don't really have much use for that type of a gimbal at the moment. But this is something that I can just quickly set up whenever I'm making these videos, and depending on the setup, depending on what I'm recording, it could be quite useful. So yeah, I'll post up on the screen what it cost me, and an Amazon link for it. For the price, I think it's definitely worth it. For the attachments, I mean, one of these kind of attachments alone will probably cost you about £10.